Hi guys, welcome to One Health for Kids, Teaching Smarter. I'm your host, Dr. Janine Wendt, and today we're diving into the fascinating world of learning styles. Today I will be covering the 3 most common learning styles you should consider when planning lessons for students. I'll identify how people with each of these 3 learning styles prefer to learn, and I'll provide an example of how a lesson can be developed to include opportunities for learning by all 3 different preferred styles of learning. Well, let's start with the basics. What are learning styles? Well, learning styles is the way that you learn best. Now, if I were delivering this lesson to you in person, I actually have a survey that I administer to everybody, and you get to actually go through what your learning style is and identify some of the ways that you like to learn. And then I would give you the opportunity to work in a small group of others who have your learning style and figure out, what makes you tick. What about your particular learning style would you want everybody else to know? And then I would make you the teacher and give you the opportunity to share a little bit about what you and your colleagues have learned about that particular learning style and what makes you unique. But we're not here together today. I am just going to relay learning styles to you in a very rote fashion where I'm going to lecture you and hopefully you'll learn a little bit about what each of these styles may be, and maybe you'll start to resonate with which one you actually find most resonates with you and your own personal style. So let's just talk about the 3 different types. First of all, there is the auditory learner, right? Now that's somebody who learns best from listening, right? Then, of course, there's the visual learner. It's somebody who learns best through seeing. And then there's the kinesthetic learner. That's somebody who's going to need hands-on experience. They want to actually learn by doing. So let's go back to auditory learners. How could you, if you were developing a lesson, make accommodations for a classroom filled with some auditory learners? Well, for one, these are folks who thrive on listening. So you might want to actually give a lecture. You may actually want to play some music that's relevant, that has relevant words to whatever it is that you're trying to impart to your class. Something else you could do is break the students down into discussion groups. And every single person has a few minutes to say, what it is that they're learning, and others can actually talk and they can listen to others in the group. So you're giving opportunities for learning through auditory means. That means you're giving them the opportunity to listen. Now we're going to talk about that visual learner. So we need to be able to look at things, right? So we want to have things posted up on a bulletin board or on a chalkboard or a whiteboard. We might want to show a PowerPoint. We might want to show a video. A video is also good for auditory learners because they're seeing the video and they're also hearing the video. You might want to show artwork. You might want to show a graph. It depends on what it is that you're really trying to teach. Diagrams can be really helpful in certain situations. Pie charts, anything that is visual and right in front of your face can actually help a visual learner to better understand the material. Lastly, we have the kinesthetic learner. Now that's somebody who learns by doing. So they want to get their hands dirty. They want to get in there and they really want to learn by physically doing an activity. Now, it's best if that activity is actually relevant to the work, but it doesn't even have to be. So it could involve just using their hands and engaging their body in the lesson. So an example I'd like to give is if you were teaching a lesson that involved a song, then you're satisfying the needs of an auditory learner. You may write words on the board, so somebody's actually reading visually the words, and you may involve clapping or dancing or something like that, so that the kinesthetic learner is actually using their body in that learning experience. So all of us have a little bit of all those kinds of learning styles in our background, right? Like some of us might learn typically best by auditory means, but in thinking back to your lessons that you had when you were a kid, you may have this visual memory of something that a teacher presented to you, or you might have a kinesthetic memory, maybe of a lab that you did when you were in science class, for example. The cool thing about a science lesson, for example, that utilizes all of those different kinds of learning style opportunities is there's often a lecture where a teacher's in front of a class giving a lecture. They might actually write something up on the board. So there might be some sort of visual that's connected to whatever it is that that teacher's saying. And then there might actually be a demonstration. So if there's going to be a lab, that biology teacher who is going to show students how to dissect a frog, they may actually visually show it up on a screen, either in a video form or actually in person by having the students gather around and watch. But then the pièce de résistance is the students actually get to dissect the frog themselves. So then they actually get to get the hands-on learning experience of putting the frog down on the mat and pinning it and making those dissection marks based on whatever visual the teacher has given them. So that's actually an example of utilizing all of the different kinds of learning styles in a lesson. It satisfies the auditory learners by having a teacher tell them what it is that they need to know. It satisfies the needs of the visual learners because that teacher is actually showing them how to do the task. And then it satisfies the needs of the kinesthetic learner because that learner is actually getting the hands-on opportunity to explore and physically do the task at hand. So, of course, none of us are probably strictly one type, and that makes it even more necessary for us who are giving lessons to kids to think about those different learning styles and make sure that when we're thinking about developing a lesson, that we accommodate the needs of all learners and not just one style. Another thing to know is because we all have a favorite style of learning, as a teacher, it's often our tendency to incorporate that style into our lessons. Now, that's great. You need to put your own personal flair into a lesson that you're going to teach. But please don't forget that there are people that learn differently from you, and you need to give them the opportunity to learn in the style that is best for them. So just to provide you with a quick recap, today we covered 3 different common learning styles, and we discussed how people with each of those learning styles prefers to learn best. I provided an example of ways to incorporate learning styles in each lesson you create. So when you're planning your lessons, remember auditory, visual, and kinesthetic learners all learn differently. Try to incorporate different opportunities for learning in each of your lessons, and it's sure to go well. Thanks for watching.